Hey everybody, welcome back to our off-grid property here in the Ozarks. I want to give a big thank you to all of you who commented on our last video where I walked through and explained why our water wheel was not working. You guys really gave us a lot of encouragement and also a lot of suggestions on how to get this thing to provide electricity to our off-grid cabin right up there. Now, if you're just following us for the first time, really quickly, we built a cabin, there's a spring, I built a dam, we've got a water wheel, and we've got a battery bank and system up in the cabin. So what I want to do today is kind of walk through some of those suggestions that we received and see if we can get this narrowed down to like maybe the top 3 things that I should try. Because I got a lot of different suggestions and I don't know which ones to go with. Again, I'm a newbie at off-grid. I'm a newbie at really all of this when it comes to electrical stuff. Right over my head. Thankfully, I've had several people personally reach out to me. One of those being an electrical engineer, and he said, this is my passion, is to troubleshoot issues just like this. He said, I'm going to walk you through this process to see if we can figure out exactly where your trouble lies, because it's either in my my PMG generator, or it's somewhere just the distance going up to the cabin, which is 220 feet. But again, let's talk about all of those things that you guys suggested to me, and let's get this narrowed down. Okay, so we're here at the water wheel. I had a lot of people talking about my water wheel and the design and how it's not really made for what we're trying to use it for. And I get that. Even though we had the idea to make it work for electricity, not really designed for that. And so I can't really alter this. I don't want to alter it. It took Jerry, my builder, who made this. To me, this is kind of a work of art, and I don't really want to change that too much. And I'm not really even sure if I could change it too much, just because of the design of it, using old plow wheels. Also, just the fact that the space that I have, sorry, I'm getting really close, but the space that I have between the 2 concrete forms that we've got that holds the water wheel, I don't think I could really go any wider than what I've got. So we're not going to be able to change this. Okay, so we cannot change the water wheel. Now I could change the flume. I had a lot of suggestions telling me you need to move your flume farther forward so that water is coming down on the front, not towards the rear. Not towards the rear. So let me say why we did it that way. Whenever we had a lot of water in the dam, and whenever we would open our flume gate that's back there, I'll show it to you. So right here's my gate. Pull up on that. So I'll just show you guys what happens. Getting a lot of splash, I know. Listen, the efficiency of this thing is not optimal. I think somebody said maybe 50%, maybe 40% efficiency on this, and I understand. But whenever we open that thing and all that water comes rushing through, a lot of times it overshoots the top of the wheel. So that's why we stopped it short, was because it comes through with such force that's the only way that it optimally hits the wheel in the best position to get it to spinning really fast. Right now, my biggest pulley is off. The key that goes in it that holds it in had fallen out, so it had fallen off. Haven't put that back on yet. I had some people tell me to go with a chain-driven pulley instead of these rubber pulleys because they're thinking that it could be slipping. That could be, very well could be. So I'm gonna see if I can make it work before I go to that change. Here is my PMG generator. Again, this is a 2000 watt. I got this from Missouri Wind and Solar. Now I've got 6 wires and they're connected in here. So in here is actually 6 wires that are running 200 foot, actually 220 foot up to the cabin. I had a lot of people tell me I've got too big of a generator for my needs. They said I need to go with something smaller. They also say I need to go to an alternating, like a car generator, like a normal alternator, and then have a But right in through here, if I built me just a little shed, and I could store my batteries, everything in here, and then run an AC line up to the cabin, because you guys are telling me that running DC from here all the way up there is too far. Now, I think some of you guys asked what gauge I have. I looked on the Missouri Wind and Solar website. It's a 10.3. You guys know more about that than I do. Again, 2,000 watt PMG generator from Missouri Wind and Solar is what I've got. I will leave that in the description down below. So if any of you guys want to like look at that to see the specs on it, that maybe you are smarter than I am in this, you can be like, hey, no, that's not what you need. Here's what you need. Now, many of you guys also said you need to reach back out to Missouri Wind and Solar and tell them the problems that you're having. And you are correct. I do. I just have not done that, but I will. I promise you. And I'm going to give you the results of that. I do not have a multimeter. In fact, I went to Lowe's and Home Depot yesterday, 2 different places, and they were sold out. So I guess they're hard to come by right now. So I've got a guy that I mentioned before who's trying to help me figure this out, and he told me to go get one. So I have one ordered, which should be here in the next 3 or 4 days. When I get it, then he's gonna walk me through, and we're gonna test. So I'm gonna get everything set back up. We're gonna test the generator first and see what we are producing there, if anything, and see if it's starting here or if my issue lies up there at the cabin. Okay, so my wire is going to ground there, and they come around the dam, and they go right up through here, and then they cross up here. So I've got another smaller spring that's just right over here. Doesn't produce much water. The wires run under here. We had a trencher and dug out there. And then I'll show you where it comes up here. So it goes under right here, and then this is our storage room where we house the batteries. So whenever I bought all this wire from Missouri Wind and Solar, I only bought 200 foot of it. And we ran short. So what Jerry, my builder of the cabin, did was he had to splice. He had to get the same gauge wire as what I had, connect them at a box, and then run it from there on into the cabin. I didn't remember that until I was going through and thought, oh yeah, we actually had to make a splice down here and for an extra, I think 10 to 15 feet, and then go on up into the box. I don't know if that has anything to do with my issues or not. Possibly, but again, we're gonna test that. We're back here in my storage room. I've had some people talk about the Midnight Classic. So I've got a guy who is trying to help me make sure that we have this thing set properly to be working for hydro. So we may be making some changes to the setup in that to make sure that we're running it properly. Also, I've got the same guy who's talking to me. He's thinking that I need to bypass this brake. So this is just basically a braking system so that nothing overheats. If I was producing constant electricity from the Waterwheel, this could be like a brake to stop that. And so we're thinking about bypassing that, and he says I don't even need that. Okay, and so right here is my wires that are coming from the generator that's down there. And don't know if anybody can really make any assumptions just based on that. But just to kind of show you what I've got going on here, this whole system. All this is a light that tells me that power is coming in from the generator. So when this lights up, it lets me know that I am getting something from the generator down at the Waterwheel. And again, I've got Battleborn 24 volt lithium ion batteries. So I need a way of figuring out if I do have 20 foot of fall. That's one thing that's been talked a lot about too, is if I can create 20 foot of fall, then I can create enough pressure to put me in some sort of a turbine or a turgo, but I just don't think I have quite 20 foot of fall. Another suggestion was to put in a ram pump in the spring and then go to find 20 feet of elevation. Now I know I have some. I know I have 20 feet higher of elevation up there. I think the only concern with that is that, yeah, I could build a pond up there and ram pump the water up there, but it would take a long time for ram pump to fill that pond up there. And then having a 6-inch pipe to feed a turbine or turbo system, it would drain that pond pretty quickly, in my opinion. At least I think it would. So I wouldn't be able to really run that all the time like I would want to provide electricity for our cabin, because again, this thing potentially can be booked out 100%, because we do have this on Airbnb, and I had 3 months of like 99% booking for 3 months solid. And so if that's the case, I need a more sustainable way of producing electricity for our guests. So I'm up here in our field that is above the cabin. See if maybe you can see it, but you see the shiny thing down there? That's the roof of our cabin. Our cabin is 20 feet high on one side, on the front side. So I know right now, I'm definitely 20 feet above even our spring head. So one location that I've considered putting in a pond is this little ravine. Sorry, I'm kind of out of breath right now. But clearing out these trees a little bit and building a pond that is in here. Now I do get good runoff that usually happens in the spring, but I do get good runoff from the hill up above me, and it comes down here and then goes behind the cabin. So I could build a pond here to catch water and use that. Spencer from Spencer Langston's Alternative Power, that's one of the things he builds, is kind of like a siphon, where, and a lot of you guys sent me that video, the link to it, but it's a siphon, so it's got a big 6-inch or 8-inch pipe that goes in like inside a pond, and then it has a suction, and then it's got a turbine on there, and then the water shoots out. Now again, you can't do that sustainably for a long period of time unless you have a lot of water. So it'd be one of those things where I could use it, I could get a little bit of power from it for maybe an hour or two, and then I'd have to shut it off. And you know, do I really want to have that much maintenance and just the requirement of me having to always be like, okay, well, it's been 2 hours, I better go shut it off, as opposed to leave it alone and forget it. And so that's where a lot of you suggested to just do both, do hydro and do solar. So I've got this hill right here, and this is facing south, and it gets a lot of sun, and it lasts pretty long in the afternoon. So I have a really good spot for solar right here, and then the cabin is right down there. So I could do both. I could do solar and have a hydro to compensate both. The Midnight Classic that I've got would already be great for a solar setup, so I would have to get me another charge controller just for hydro. But that is another viable option. I had a fellow YouTuber reach out to me too. A lot of people recommended him. His name is Chris Harbor Natural Building. I did go look him up. He has a lot of videos on kind of living off grid, but one of the things he was doing was hydro. I just want to read a little snippet of the information he sent that hopefully we can try and figure out and come up with a solution on how to make this work. He said, so in summary, you need more water and more head to try and get an unloaded free spin voltage of at least twice as much as your system needs. So when you load the wheel, it will be slowed down to 24 volts. He said, I see from the clip it running at 50 watts, the controller had loaded the Waterwheel to 40 volts. That controller isn't really designed for that kind of system. That is the reason it was jumping around when you had 30 to 50 watts coming in. It was trying to find the maximum power point. The controller itself uses quite a bit of power just to run, and it is quite a big loss that you don't need. If you get the wheel to free spin at 50 volts, then direct connect to your batteries. You will take away that loss, and as long as your cable size is properly, then you won't lose too much in the cable. That would mean it would not be controlled and could overcharge the batteries, but a simple disconnect solenoid would work for that to just cut the incoming power once the set voltage is reached, as it would not cause your wheel any problems to free spin. So that kind of excited me. Now, again, I would like somebody to hold my hand, so to speak, and really like show me how to make that work, because that sounds interesting to me. Chris did send me his email. I'm going to reach out to him and talk a little bit more about that process to see if that's something we can do. So definitely we have some options, but I do want to show you guys one other thing that I didn't know if could be a possibility to do anything with, so I just want to show it to you really quick. So something I forgot to tell you guys about in last week's video was, I don't know if you guys remember, but we put in a pipe, a 6-inch pipe right here, and there's a cap for it. And we dug a line underground for me to put in a future pond someday, and this was going to be the supply for it. Now, whenever I unscrew this 6-inch cap, it sucks a lot of water over here to this end, and I'll go show that to you. So right here is the end of it, and we've got it capped. But the dam's over there. I would say from the top of the dam, maybe to here, it maybe drops, 5-6 feet. So it's not a huge drop. But what I don't know is, could I use this? Could I put some sort of a turbine system over here at this end and it work efficiently? I just don't know, because of the drop is not very significant, like what a lot of people are telling me I need 20 feet. So I just don't know if that would work. A lot of YouTube videos you guys go to, you guys are the ones who are learning on how to do things. Instead, my videos is you guys are teaching me how to do things, and I need that. So again, I just want to thank you guys for helping me, because I want this to work. One person said, why are you giving up on it? I never said I was giving up on it in the last video. I just said I want to make sure that I do this properly, because of this turning into a business. I don't want to have issues with my guests and getting bad reviews and people saying, well, we lose power all the time, we're losing power all the time, and I just don't want that. So I want to come up with a viable solution to make this work the best for my family, but also for our guests who are going to be here. So if I can find a way to make it work with the water, I want to so badly. Now again, that may only be 6 months out of the year when it's our rainiest season. Really, we're getting ready to get into it, but from February to June is whenever we get quite a bit of rain. And right now, I tried to test it earlier, couldn't really get a really good test, but I would say I'm probably getting 150 gallons per minute right now. But if you guys watched our videos during the summer, or actually in the spring of last year, 2020, when we were building this, we had a lot of water coming through at that point. And I would say I was getting close to probably 600 to 1,000 gallons a minute, because I could stick a 5-gallon bucket underneath there and it'd be filled in a second. And whenever Jerry and I were building this dam, I mean, it was thumping out some water. So again, I may have to go to hydro if I can. Let's try and figure this out. If I can go to a hydro and then put solar up on the hill, if I have the combination of the both, I really feel like that could help us with being fully sustainable and keep the off-grid lifestyle that we want to have with this cabin. Please, again, continue with the suggestions in the comments down below. I love to read them. I love to hear about them. And so thank you guys so much for doing that. Also, if you haven't hit that like and subscribe button, please go ahead and do that. I really appreciate it. It helps more people find our videos. And I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday, and God bless you. Bye.